Good afternoon. This is Chris Bacon, the brain injured guy, coming back with part 4 of the servability uh, section for training provided by, I guess it's the Ontario government, as part of their requirements under Accessibilities for Ontarians with Disabilities Act 2005. So resources section has been referred to in other parts of the program. This is the actual resources section that takes you to. There's a tips section, how to make your workplace accessible, making buildings and spaces accessible, how to plan an accessible meeting, how to make information accessible, tools, link to these resources and tools to help you serve customers with disabilities. There's a thing for training tips there. And then there's this box here. One side is all PDF, and this is all Word. So they're exactly the same thing. Instructions on how to use TTY machine or relay system in PDF or Word. Instructions on helping someone with assistive device in PDF or Word. Instructions on guiding person with vision loss in PDF or Word. Self-tests PDF. Note that this is taken from training resource and also in Word. Facilitator's discussion guide in PDF or Word. And user agreement PDF and Word. Links, click the links to view these websites: relevant legislation, Ontario Human Rights Code, Ontarians with Disabilities 2001, so there was actually a prior act, and Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act 2005. So let's see where some of these take you. How to make your workplace accessible. And it takes you to the website, Accessibility Laws for the Government of Ontario, located at https, just a minute, let me highlight that, www.ontariolaws.ca/PAGE/accessibly-laws. So it's www.ontario.ca/page/accessibility-laws. And that's this webpage. So accessibility laws, Government of Ontario, as you can see. Ontario has laws to improve accessibility for people with disabilities. Learn about the standards you need to follow in reporting deadlines for complying with accessibility requirements. About accessibility laws. Ontario's accessibility laws and standards, our action plan and progress in becoming accessible for people with disabilities by 2025. So accessibility requirements for organizations. The requirements for organizations, accessibility requirements for organizations. The requirements and deadlines you need to follow depend on the type and size of your organization. You are exempt if you are self-employed and do not have any employees. So as long as you're self-employed, you can abuse anybody you want, I guess. Is that how it works? So under that heading, they have bullet points for business or nonprofits, public sector organizations, municipalities, educational institutions such as boards, colleges, universities, and schools, producers of educational material, for example, textbooks, and library boards. Really interesting, they do not mention police or the courts. File a compliance report, how to file an accessibility compliance report for businesses, not-profit organizations with 20 or more employees, and public sector organizations. Legislative reviews, committees, and councils, current reviews of accessibility laws and requirements, including reports by appointed committees and councils that advise the government. Promote accessibility compliance, how nonprofit organizations can get support to educate an industry or sector about accessibility requirements through the Enabling Change program. Register for free sessions. Sign up for free online sessions that can help you understand accessibility requirements. Consultation certification program. Help us develop a voluntary third-party certification program. Tell us how you think we should recognize businesses and organizations that champion accessibility in their sector or community. Subscribe to the newsletter. Sign up to get Ontario accessibility news and information on upcoming deadlines and requirements. Questions or feedback. Contact us if you have any questions or if you would like to receive any of our material in a different format. You can also provide your feedback to help us improve accessibility in Ontario. updated December 2nd, 2015, and published June 3rd, 2015. So this was published last year, a little over a year ago. And they have this nice thing at the bottom here, an accessible Ontario by 2025. Ontario is the first Canadian province to pass a law to improve accessibility in the areas that impact the daily lives of people with disabilities. About Ontario accessibility news, privacy, terms of use. Queen's Printer for Ontario 2012 to 16. And of course they have contact us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Topics, arts and culture, business and economy, driving and roads, education and training, environment and energy, government, health and wellness, home and community, jobs and employment, law and safety, rural and north, taxes and benefits, travel and recreation. Is this a link? Let's see what law and safety say. Law and safety, that link is available at www.ontario.ca/PAGE/law, otherwise known as www.ontario.ca/page/law-and-safety. And that brings you to this web page by the Government of Ontario, Law and Safety. Ontario's laws and related information about our legal system, emergency services, the Ontario Provincial Police, and victim services. Laws. Official copies of Ontario statutes and regulations, Justice Ontario, how to find a lawyer, fight a ticket, settle a will, and more. Of course, there's nothing there about accessibility, though, there is there. Public safety, emergency preparedness, how to prepare for an emergency, sign up for public alerts, and get information in the event of a natural disaster program. Ontario Provincial Police, information about the OPP, including crime preventions, traffic safety investigations, and specialized response team. Office of the Fire Marshal, the office responsible for training firefighters, fire prevention, and fire protection services. Private investigators, security guards, licensing information for security guards, private investigators, and businesses who employ in-house security staff. Courts and jails. Courts, how to find a courthouse, go to small claims court and get information on court services in Ontario. Family law, learn about the laws that may affect you if you separate from your spouse. Includes information on child care, child support, and property division. Jury duty, find out more about jury duty process, including what to do if you receive a jury questionnaire in the mail. Correctional services, learn about correctional institutions and jails for adults, the Ontario Parole Board, and probation officers. Find a lawyer. How to find a lawyer, paralegal, and what to do if you can't afford one. Really interesting because they charge you $6 on your phone bill and there's no guarantee you're ever going to get anything done for you. Your rights in the law. Child custody and protection. Information about child custody, children's aid societies, and child protection. Legal aid and access to the range of legal services for low-income individuals. Unless, of course, it has to do with complaints about government, then their whole job is to deny, deflect, and obstruct. And if you keep it up, then they victimize, villainize, and criminalize you. But it all has the root word of lies. Human rights. Learn about Ontario's Human Rights Code protects you against discrimination in your everyday life. Yeah, it has for me for 12 years because they're all attuned to what they're required to do, especially when it has to do with revealing information of government wrongdoing. Victims. Supports and services for victims of crime and their families, including counseling and financial assistance. Consumer rights, information about fraud and consumer protection. Contact us. Ministry of the Attorney General works to create modern, sustainable, responsive justice system to inspire public confidence and upholds the rules of the law. Well, that's what my case shows. Hey, I guess my email, I guess I must be full of crap. And I guess I'm about to get sued by the Ontario and Canadian government and all these private places where I've said they've done these things because I guess you're allowed to go on the internet and just say things like this that aren't true, right? Is that right? Am I allowed to do that? So why isn't anybody doing something about it? Because they know the minute they lay a hand on me to sue me or bring me into a venue, my evidence comes forward. And the fact that this has taken over 12 years to get to this point of abuse should speak values, because again, there's only one reason why none of this information has been getting out, either in the news, the law, the police, or anybody, because they are all collaborating to make sure they pull the wool over our eyes. And the person who's mostly responsible for it is this smiling face right here. Remember that ad when the election was on? Hi, my name's Kathleen Wynne, and I like to run. Not only that, they don't know how to spell premier. That's funny. It's supposed to have an E on the end. Anyway. Our government will build Ontario up. Ontario will be the best place to live from childhood to retirement. Well, you know what? Congratulations, Wynne, because I'm the first disabled person in Ontario to ask for political asylum from Ontario, because you are a lying sack of shite. That's a person who, there's a smile of privilege. It's one of these people who think that privilege is, no wonder they're smiling. You know, you ever wonder why they smile so widely and like they just ate the cat, or a cat that just ate the canary? Because they got a secret. We're above the law. You can't touch me. I can do whatever I want. I've got privilege. It's been a privilege to do this. Yeah, and it's a privilege to be this out of rate with what's going on. So again, this Ministry of Community and Social Services, Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services, oversees the province's correctional and detention system, the Ontario Provincial Police, and public safety. Well, that's funny. So this page was updated May 18th, 2016. It was published August 20th, 2015. So this was just updated this May, probably because of a lot of the letters that I've sent her. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Same crap on the back. So let's go and see. So it's no actual information about disabilities. It's just where you can find the information. Accessibility requirements for organizations. So is the courts a public sector organization? Well, let's see. Public sector organizations. Accessibility rules for public sector organizations. The rules and deadlines public sector organizations must follow to meet accessibility standards in Ontario. The rules you need to follow depend on the size of your organization. Now let me ask you something. Are the courts, legal aid, are they come under public sector organizations? I believe they do. And the Law Society and law, like the aspect for lawyers, needs to be answered, because I guess if a lawyer's working by himself and he has no employees, then I guess they think that they're exempt from the act. And that's the message that's given here. Obviously, that's the end result, and regardless of how much it interferes with the client's ability to get any kind of thing done for them, they just dismiss the stuff that they don't need to use. Is that how it works now? Well, let me be the first to tell you the answer is yes, especially when it comes to government wrongdoing. How to count your employees. Count all full-time, part-time, seasonal, and contract workers. With most employees, you pay wages or a salary, have control over the work assigned, or have a right to control the details of the work. Do not count employees outside Ontario. Do not count volunteers or independent contractors, but you are responsible for ensuring that the services they provide on your behalf follow the rules of Ontario's accessibility standards. You may need to ensure these individuals are trained to meet the requirements. So 1 to 49 employees by January 1st, 2010. So this was 6 years ago. You need to provide accessible customer service. Train your staff and volunteers to serve customers of all abilities. Keep a written record of the training. Welcome service animals and support persons. Create accessible ways for people to provide feedback. Put an accessibility policy in place so your employees, volunteers, and customers can know what to expect. By December 31st, you need to file an accessibility compliance report. Oh, I guess we should, okay, what happens when you click on that link? So provide accessible customer service. Was that the E-Law? How to make customer service accessible. So they have everything here. How to make customer service accessible. On this page, people with disabilities, barriers to accessibility, the law. Let's see what it says for barriers. No, actually, I'm going to read this one because this is a general page about how they claim that they're doing it. Okay, and this is the government of Ontario I'm talking about. Legal aid, which is the government of Ontario. Everything that is meant to support and provide these legal services. How to make customer service accessible. And again, this page is available at https://www.ontario.ca/PAGE/HOW hyphen MAKE hyphen CUSTOMER hyphen SERVISE hyphen ACCESSIBLE, otherwise known as www.ontario.ca/page/how-make-customer-service-accessible. So how to make customer service accessible. How businesses and nonprofit organizations can meet the accessible customer service standard by creating a policy and plan to train staff on how to serve people with disabilities. On this page, number 1, people with disabilities, 2, barriers to accessibility, 3, the law, 4, step 1, create policies, 5, step 2, train your staff, 6, step 3, document your policies and training, 7, step 4, follow additional accessibility laws. So people with disabilities, 1 in 7 people in Ontario has a disability. That's almost 2 million Ontarians. By 2036, that number will rise to 1 in 5 as people age. Over the next 20 years, aging Ontarians and people with disabilities will represent 40% of total income in Ontario. That's $536 billion. People with disabilities are a growing market that businesses can't afford to overlook, especially government exploiting them. Ontario has laws to ensure all Ontarians can access your organization's goods, services, or facilities. Of course, unless you're government of Ontario or the courts. Barriers to accessibility. Barriers to accessibility are obstacles that make it difficult, sometimes impossible, for people with disabilities to do the things most of us take for granted, like shopping, working, or taking public transit. You see, they limit it to everything except for legal, or what the law is required to provide. For example, a clothing store with a no refund or return policy creates a barrier if the fitting rooms are not wheelchair accessible and a person can't try on the clothes before purchasing them. Providing exemptions to this policy removes the barrier. A dance studio offers their class schedule in paper format at the front desk. When a customer with low vision asks for a schedule in Braille, the manager explains that it is not available in Braille, but it is available in accessible format on the studio's website. This works for the customer because she has a screen reader at home that reads content displayed on the website. The law. The law requires your organization to identify those barriers and remove them in order to provide customer service that is more accessible to people who have disabilities. These requirements apply to organizations that serve the public, provide good services or facilities to other businesses or organizations. For example, manufacturers, wholesalers, and professional services have other businesses as their customers. Follow the steps below to learn what you must do to provide accessible customer service and train your staff on how to serve people with disabilities. Step 1, create policies. Develop and put in place policies that outline how you will provide goods, services, or facilities to people with disabilities. Facilities in this case refers to rooms or spaces used to provide a service such as a stadium or a banquet hall. It does not refer to the physical structure of a building. Document your policies if you are a business or not-profit with 50 or more employees, a public sector organization. Make sure your policies are guided by these principles. Dignity. Provide service in a way that allows a person with a disability to maintain self-respect and the respect of other people. Independence. A person with a disability is allowed to do things on their own without unnecessary help or interference from others. Integration. Provide service in a way that allows the person with a disability to benefit from the same services in the same place and in the same or similar way as other customers, unless a different way is necessary to enable them to access goods, services, or facilities. Equal opportunity. Provide service to a person with disability in such a way that they have an equal opportunity to access your goods, services, or facilities as what is given to others. Example of equal opportunity. A small store offers a 10% discount for online orders, but their system is not yet accessible for people with vision loss who use a screen reader. The store offers the same discount to a customer who is blind and places an order in person. This provides the same opportunity to benefit from the discount. When creating your policies, make a list of what you do every day to provide customer service. Identify, remove, and prevent potential barriers for people with disabilities. Your policies must include information on how your organization will address the requirements alone. Consider a person's disability when communicating with them. Ensure your employees are prepared to communicate with customers who have various types of disabilities in a way that takes into account their disability. Example of inclusive communication. Rashad has a learning disability and has difficulty understanding the yoga class schedule at his local gym. He asked the receptionist to read it out loud to him. Allow assistive devices. An assistive device is a piece of equipment a person with a disability uses to help them with daily living. For example, a wheelchair, screen reader, hearing aid, cane or walker, an oxygen tank. When creating your policies, identify any assistive measures that you currently offer to help people with disabilities access your services. For example, electric scooter, TTY phone line. Consider integrating additional helpful measures, for example, carry-out service or delivery. Evaluate and address any risks or dangers for customers entering your premises with assistive devices. For example, an open flame could be dangerous for someone with an oxygen tank. Examples of assistive measures. Janet can walk short distances and uses a scooter. It's often difficult to find space at a busy service counter to park her scooter. She finds it helpful when a staff suggests parking options and makes space by keeping aisles clear. Mario uses an oxygen tank. When he visits his local pub, the hostess makes sure candles are extinguished and she seats Mario in a location that is safe for both Mario and the other patron. Allow service animals. There are various types of service animals besides guide dogs that support people with various types of disabilities such as vision loss, epilepsy, autism, and anxiety disorder. There are no restrictions on what type of animal can be used as a service animal. An animal is considered a service animal if it wears a harness, vest, or other visual indicator. The person with a disability provides documented from a regulated health professional. Sometimes you might be able to identify that an animal is a service animal because it helps a person with disability perform certain tasks like opening a door or picking up a dropped object. Don't make assumptions. If you cannot easily identify that the animal is a service animal, you can ask the person to provide documentation, for example, template, letter, form, from a regulated health professional. The documentation must confirm that the person needs the service animal for reasons related to their disability. Welcome service animals into public areas of your workplace or business. In cases where the law prohibits service animals, provide another way for the person to access your goods, services, or facilities. Service animals have a job to do. They are not pets. Avoid touching or addressing a service animal. Your customer is responsible for the care and supervision of their service animal. When creating your policies, clearly identify the areas of your premises that are open to service animals. Evaluate how you should adapt your practices to provide services to people who have service animals. Think about how else you would provide your services if the law prohibits a service animal from an area in your workplace or business. Examples of when a law prohibits a service animal. Pauline is a supplier for a restaurant and she uses a service animal. Although the restaurant must allow service animals in the public dining area, another law prevents animals from entering the restaurant's kitchen where the manager usually meets with suppliers. When Pauline comes for her meeting, they use the office upstairs. A charity runs a cooking class. It does not allow service animals into its kitchen as this is a place where food is prepared and stored. Instead, the charity offers a person with a service animal a safe place where their animal may wait during the class. At the same time, an employee provides assistance as a sighted guide to the person attending the class without their service animal. Welcome support persons. Support persons help people with disability perform daily tasks. Often people who need the help of a support person are not able to do certain things by themselves. For example, a support person might help with communication, mobility, or personal care. Without support, that person may be unable to access your organization or services. When creating your policies, think about how customers who require assistance a support person will use your services. Decide how you will deal with special situations or services. Identify any possible situations where a support person might be required to accompany a person with a disability for health or safety reasons. Include information on how you will handle situations where a support person is required for health or safety reasons. The organization can only require a support person to accompany a person with a disability in very limited circumstances and when there is no other option available. Before making a decision, you must consult with the person with a disability to understand their needs. Consider health and safety reasons based on available evidence. Determine if there is no other reasonable way to protect the health or safety of the person or others on the premises. Admission fees if you charge admission. Let people know if you charge an additional fee for a support person. Clearly disclose the fee in advance. Waive the admission fee for the support person if you require them to accompany the person with a disability due to health or safety reasons. Example of accommodating for support persons. A movie theater posts a notice on its website and at its ticket window that support persons will be charged 50% of the admission fee when accompanying a person with a disability. Inform customers when accessible services are temporarily unavailable. Sometimes accessibility features or services require repair or are temporarily out of service. For example, an elevator, ramp, audio announcements, or accessible washroom. When this happens, let your customers know by providing public notice. To create your policies, make a list of the facilities and services people with disabilities rely on. Prepare a template notice in advance and state the reason for the disruption, how long the service or facility will be unavailable, and a description of the alternative facilities or services if available. Determine how the notice will be provided so that people are aware of the disruption. For example, a sign at the entrance door to your business or in another high traffic area, a message on your website or phone line. Not everyone is able to read written notices. Consider other ways to provide notice, such as having staff tell customers about service disruptions. Examples of notification. A dry cleaning business must remove the ramp in front of their store for a few weeks. They post a sign outside and leave a message on their phone explaining that repairs are being done. They give the date when the ramp will be available again and offer to meet customers outside if they call ahead to pick up or drop off garments. A bakery serves customers by providing them with a ticket, and then an electronic sign displays which ticket number is next to be served. An audio announcement also calls out the number. When the electronic display sign unexpectedly malfunctions, the staff posts a sign to let customers know. Then they approach customers with hearing loss or who are deaf to let them know when it is their turn. Invite customers to provide feedback. Gee, I've done a lot of that. It doesn't matter. Provide a way for your customers who have disabilities to comment on how you provide accessible customer service. Let them know how to provide that feedback and how you will act on complaints. It's a good way to learn about barriers that exist in your workplace so that you can work to address them. Ensure your feedback process is accessible by providing or arranging for accessible formats and communication supports on request. To create your policies, determine how you want to receive feedback and complaints, for example, in person, by telephone, in writing, by email, or another way. Clarify how you will respond to feedback, including complaints. State how you will let customers know about the process. Step 2, train your staff. Train all members of your organization on accessible customer service and how to interact with people with different disabilities. To create your policies, determine when you will train your staff. State the required training topics in your policies. Step 3, document your policies and training. Put your accessible customer service policies in writing and make it available to people who request it. If you are a business or nonprofit with 50 or more employees, you are a public sector organization of any size. When creating your policies, use the customer service policies template or create your own document, the policies that you created in step 1. Your policies can be made up of one or more documents. Let customers know how to find it. For example, post a notice on your website or in a high traffic area. Offer your policies in an accessible format or with communication support when requested. For example, you may direct the person to your accessible website, offer to read it aloud, or provide it in large print. Provide the accessible format in a timely manner at no additional cost than what you would normally charge. Keep a log of the training you provide, step 2. Keep track of the number of people you trained and on what and when. Then step 4, follow additional accessibility laws. Your organization has to meet all applicable accessibility requirements. Keep track of the past and future deadlines to comply with accessibility laws and find out if and when you have to file accessibility compliance reports. Last updated June 8th, 2016, published November 7th, 2014. Oh, well, a lot of them are getting updated now, eh? Could that be because what I've done? Well, let's see where the organization has to meet all applicable accessibility requirements. Let's see what that says. Oh, that's the one that we just came from. And that's the end of that page. So is there... And related topics up here is free training resource on accessible customer service, subscribe to the newsletter on accessibility, accessible customer service policy template, make an emergency information accessible for customers, and train your staff on accessibility. By December 31st, 2010, you need to file an accessibility compliance report. By July 1st, 2011, you need to provide accessible transportation services. If you provide transportation services, make them accessible. When asked, provide accessible vehicles or equal services. By January 1st, 2012, you need to provide accessible emergency and public safety information. When asked, provide publicly available emergency information like evacuation plans or brochures in an accessible format. Provide accessibility emergency information to staff. When necessary, provide accessible and customized emergency information. You should provide this information as soon as an employee asks for it or when you become aware of an employee may need accommodation in an emergency. As of December 31st, 2013, you need to file an accessibility compliance report. So what is that, every 3 years they have to do a compliance report? So far, because it says by December 31st, 2010. Then again by December 31st, 2013. Okay. By January 1st, 2014, you need to create accessibility policies and a multi-year plan. Create policies and a multi-year plan to help you achieve your accessibility goals. Tell your employees and customers about your policies. Post the multi-year plan on your website in an accessible format. Buy goods, services, or facilities that are accessible to persons with disabilities. Where possible, include accessible design, criteria, and features when purchasing new goods, services, or facilities for your organization. When it is not possible, explain why. Include accessibility features when purchasing or designing self-service kiosks. This includes interactive electronic terminals that people use to pay parking fees, validate tickets, buy groceries, and renew licenses. Make websites accessible. This includes only new websites and old websites you significantly update and new web content you create. Quick note about websites and disabled. Not every disabled person has access to a computer or to internet or can afford it. So at the most, they might be able to go to the library and utilize a computer there. So based on the fact that it's an automatic assumption, and this is one of these assumptions for persons with disabilities, that everybody with a disability has an electronic wheelchair, doesn't have to push it up themselves with limited strength of their arms or other parts of their body, and such things like that. That everybody with a disability, I forget what I was going to say about that. Anyway, I'm getting tired. I got to make a break soon. Anyway, we're not all hooked up to the net, and you cannot just assume that we are. So by January 1st, 2015, you need to train your staff on Ontario's accessibility laws. Train all your employees and volunteers on accessibility requirements that apply to their job duties in your organization. Make it easy for people with disability to provide feedback when asked. This includes surveys or comment cards. Make your employment practices accessible. Make how you hire, retain, and provide career development opportunities accessible. Document your processes for developing individual accommodation plans or return to work plans. So my experience with the courthouse was May 1st, 2015. And they didn't have a clue. The police did not even know how to identify the person with a disability. And matter of fact, going in there, and I've got it on tape, they actually say it's not their job to even provide it. So there's a serious problem here. There's more than enough evidence. By December 31st, 2015, you need to file another accessibility compliance report. By January 1st, 2016, you need to make your public information accessible when asked. Work with the person who is asking to figure out how to meet their needs as soon as possible. Make new or redevelop public spaces accessible. Recreational trails and beach access routes, outdoor public use eating areas, outdoor play spaces, public outdoor paths of travel, on and off street parking areas, service counters, fixed waiting lines, waiting areas with fixed seating. So then there's one due every two, it looks like, so they do one in Accessibility Compliance Report 2015, December 31st, 2017, December 31st, 2019, are all file accessibility compliance reports. By January 1st, 2021, you need to make all websites and web content accessible. By December 31st, 2021, you will need to file accessibility compliance report. By December 31st, 2023, you will need to file an accessibility report, and December 31st, 2025. 50 plus employees, by January 1st, 2010, you need to provide accessible customer service. Train your staff and volunteers to serve customers of all abilities. Keep a written record of the training. Welcome service animals and support persons. Create accessible ways for people to provide feedback, and put an accessibility policy in place so your employees, volunteers, and customers can know what to expect. By December 31st, 2010, you need to file an accessibility compliance report. By July 1st, 2011, you need to provide accessible transportation services. If you provide transportation services, make them accessible when asked. Provide accessible vehicles or equal services. By January 1st, 2012, you need to provide accessible emergency and public safety information. When asked, provide publicly available emergency information like evacuation plans or brochures in accessible format. Provide accessible emergency information to staff. When necessary, provide accessible and customized emergency information. You should provide this information as soon as an employer asks for it, or when you become aware of an employee may need accommodation in an emergency. By January 1st, 2013, you need to create accessibility policies and a multi-year plan. Create policies and multi-year plan to help you achieve your accessibility goals. Tell your employees and customers about your policies. Post the multi-year plan on your website in an accessible format. Buy goods, services, or facilities that are accessible to people with disabilities. Where possible, include accessibility design criteria and features where purchasing new goods, services, or facilities for your organization. When it is not possible, explain why. Include accessibility features when purchasing or designing self-service kiosks. This includes interactive electronic terminals that people use to pay parking fees, validate tickets, and buy groceries and renew licenses. December 31st, 2013, you need to file an accessibility compliance report. By January 1st, 2014, you need to train your staff on Ontario's accessibility laws. So this was a full year before I ended up going in that courthouse. Make it easy for people with disabilities to provide feedback when asked. This includes surveys or comment cards. Make websites accessible. This includes only new websites and all websites you significantly update and new web content you create. Make your employment practices accessible. Make how you hire, retain, and provide career development opportunities accessible. Document processes for developing individual accommodation plans and return to work plans. By January 1st, 2015, you need to make your public information accessible when asked. Work with the person who is asking to figure out how to meet their needs as soon as possible. So there you go. By January 1st, 2015, you need to make your public information accessible when asked. So I asked for the disability coordinator. That was May 1st, 2015. Again, Waterloo Regional Police, who handle the front kiosk at the Waterloo Regional Courthouse, have stated time and time again that it is not their job. And this is months, actually, I think that tape was done like early of this year, 2016. Or late 2015, long after this all happened. But by January 1st, 2015, you need to make your public information accessible when asked. See, work with the person who is asking to figure out how to meet their needs as soon as possible. So being confrontational, because they automatically make it confrontational, and attacking, assaulting, and everything else that happened to me afterwards is not meeting my needs. And all because anyway, I'm not going through this again. They are obviously full of shit. By December 31st, 2015, you need to file an accessibility compliance report. By January 1st, 2016, you need to make new or redeveloped public spaces accessible. Recreational trails and beach access routes, outdoor public use eating areas, outdoor play spaces, public outdoor paths of travel, on and off street parking areas, service counters, fixed waiting lines, waiting areas with fixed seating. As of December 31st, 2017, you need to file accessibility report, and again every 2 years after that, so December 31st, 2019. By January 1st, 2021, you need to make all websites and web contents accessible. By December 31st, 2021, compliance report. 2023, compliance report. And by January 1st, 2025, file an accessibility compliance report. This was updated January 20th, 2016, published September 14th, 2015. So let's see what it says about make your public information accessible when asked. Here you go. This explains a lot. So the website or the link is to https://www.ontarian.how.ca/page-maction-acce, otherwise known as www.ontario.ca/page/how-make-information-accessible. How to make information easy for use for people with disabilities. The law. The basic requirement is to let the public and your employees know that you will make written information and other forms of communication accessible upon request. You can include a note on your website or promotional materials, create a sign, or post a notice on a bulletin board. If a person with a disability asks for accessibility information or requires communication supports, work with them to figure out how to meet their needs. You don't have to have accessible formats on hand, but you need to provide the information in a timely manner. You cannot charge more for accessible formats than you do for other formats. Exceptions. In some cases, you don't need to make information accessible if it is not possible technically to convert a document to an accessible format. You must explain why and provide a short summary of it instead. The information comes from another organization. You don't control the information, or the information is found on products or product labels. How to comply. The requirements apply to 4 types of information. Number 1, emergency and public safety information. This includes emergency plans and procedures, for example, tour boat instructions on how to use a life jacket. Maps, warning signs, and evacuation routes, for example, a map pointing out emergency exits. Information about alarms or other emergency alerts, for example, procedures that explains what to do if you hear a hotel fire alarm. For example, Maria works for a small family-run motel. The fire escape procedures are posted on the back of every door. When a guest with vision loss asks for his information, Maria talks to the guest about his needs and walks him through the evacuation procedure. The property management company gives all new tenants a guide to its emergency procedures. It's large, complex, and full of legal language. Camilla has a learning disability and tells her landlord that she doesn't understand it. Property manager meets with Camilla and explains the procedures in clear language to make them easy to understand. Ravi works at a wilderness tour company that takes people on hikes. His job is to review emergency procedures such as what to do if you get lost. Serena has an anxiety disorder and gets anxious in group learning situations. She tells Ravi, who offers to go over the procedures with her personally. Before customers start to play, Stan's Paintball and Laser Tag Company shows a short video on what to do if someone gets hurt. A customer with hearing loss asks for an accessible format, so Stan gives her a transcript of what's said in the video. 2. Feedback process for employees and the public. Instead of providing only one method for feedback, for example, handwritten letters, be ready to receive feedback in other ways, example, over the telephone, by email, questionnaires, or comment cards. For example, when Jerry bought a new computer, the store clerk asked him if someone could call him for a survey in a couple weeks. Jerry is deaf and prefers communicating by email, so the clerk sent him an email with a link to their online survey. Shauna works in the office of a large grocery store. Every 6 months, the store's human resources department asks employees to complete a survey about their work experience. However, Shauna prefers communicating verbally because she is blind. To accommodate Shauna's needs, the human resources worker calls Shauna to ask her the questions on the survey. Employee information. You must provide accessible workplace information when an employee with a disability asks for it. This includes any information that employees need to perform their jobs, general information about that is available to all employees at work, example, company newsletters, bulletins about company policies and health and safety information, information about emergency procedures. To find out what you need to do, talk to your employees with disabilities and ask them what would help make information accessible to them. The format you choose must meet the needs of the employee. For example, Susie has low vision and does not use Braille. Instead, she uses a screen reader for text, so her employer sends her the monthly staff newsletter in a structured Word file that works with her reader. Other public information. This includes all print documents and information provided to the public on websites and handheld devices. For example, Rabia runs a small family restaurant. A blind customer calls to make a reservation and asks for a Braille menu. Rabia doesn't have Braille menus, but the customer says he also uses a screen reader. Rabia mentions that the menu in a format that a screen reader can access. He says that will work just fine. Safa runs a company that makes cardboard boxes. One of Safa's customers is deaf. Instead of calling to place an order and confirm delivery details, Safa gives the customer her cell phone number so he can text the information to her instead. Types of accessible formats: HTML and Microsoft Word, Braille, accessible audio formats, large print, text transcripts of visual and audio information. Types of communication supports: reading the written information aloud to a person directly, exchanging handwritten notes, providing a note taker or communication assistant, captioning or audio description, assistive listening systems, augmentative and alternative communication methods and strategies, for example, the use of a letter, word, or picture boards and devices that speak out. Sign language interpretation and intervener services, repeating, clarifying, or restating information. Tools to make information accessible. Other tools to improve the accessibility of information include American Sign Language, ASL, uses hand shapes, positions, facial expressions, and body movements to convey meaning to people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Braille is a tactile system of raised dots representing letters or combination of letters. It is used by people who are blind or deafblind and is produced using Braille transcription software. Captioning uses subtitles to convey the words spoken in a video. They usually appear on the bottom of the screen. Digital Accessible Information Systems, or DAISY, D-A-I-S-Y, is an audio format for people who have trouble with print, including limited vision and learning disabilities like dyslexia. DAISY digital talking books are like audiobooks, but include navigation features to help readers skip forward or back through the material. Screen reader software uses a speech synthesizer to read text from a computer screen or convert it to Braille. Information must be formatted properly in a structured electronic file for the screen reader to recognize it. Structured electronic files includes information about how elements of the document are formatted, for example, titles, section headings. They can be created using styles in most standard word processing programs. Documents created as structured electronic files are easier to convey to accessible formats, including Braille, DAISY, and web pages, and allow screen readers to navigate the information effectively. Sorry. This page was updated February 12th, 2016, and was published June 3rd, 2015. Related, how to create a structured electronic file, guide making emergency information accessible, free training resource on accessibility requirements, and guidelines to accessibility standards. Actually, I'm going to go back. Before we do that, I want to see if we free training resource on accessibility requirements, if that takes us back to that course. Access forward. Website provides free training modules to meet the training requirements under Ontario's accessibility laws. Developed in partnership. Maybe that's another one we got to look at. I would definitely keep a handful of that. Okay. Anyway, oh, yeah, I guess I shouldn't have done that online, eh? Doesn't matter. Okay, so we went through all that, and I just went back to see about public information. So there's lots of information there.